I'm going to preview the Baylor at TCU football game, which will be played October 18th, a Saturday, at 11 a.m. Central Time on ESPN2. As of right now, TCU is favored by 3.5. The over-under for this game is 65.5. Both these teams have identical records in terms of overall, 4-2. However, Baylor's 2-1 in the Big 12. TCU's 1-2, and Baylor's coming off of a bye week after that thrilling win against Kansas State in the prior game, 35-34, and an epic comeback win. While TCU, let's just say they laid an absolute egg in the second half, that is. They lost to Kansas State on the road, 41-28. And it could have been a 3-score game if you don't include that garbage time touchdown. So, and obviously this game is huge for a few reasons. Big 12 standings, for one. And the other one, it's a rivalry game. Of course. It's big. And I'm going to say that I know that TCU did not have Joseph Manjack some in the game. So I don't know what he's going to play. And I even listened to TCU head football coach Sonny Dykes in his press conference, and he did not mention anything on the injury front. And we'll have to obviously wait and see what the injuries report is later on today or even prior to the game and all this. So just let y'all know about that. TCU runs like an air raid offense, obviously. They do average 35.3 points per game, 134 first downs all year. They're not that great running the ball. 116.7 rushing yards, which I know part of it's due to injury. And I know that TCU is also down their starting left tackle for the rest of the year. That's prior to that Kansas State game, by the way. So, and 322.3 passing yards per game. So they're a pass-heavy offense, as you could tell. Though if they could get the run game going, that would be more dangerous, obviously. 43 for 80 on third down, 8 for 13 on fourth down, which they didn't convert a lot last game, if any. You go back and watch. Look at the stats or watch the game itself. They allowed 11 sacks and 35 tackles for loss. They do have 7 interceptions and 2 fumbles, 21 pass breakups, 14 quarterback hurries allowed. Time possession, 27 minutes, 9 seconds. And the average 2 deep on the offensive line is 307 pounds, which I don't know why the depth chart for TCU does show that one guy that's out for the year still. And I said something to Vernon Ogletree on KWTX about that. Didn't hear anything back, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense when the guy's out for the year. They put him on the depth chart. I don't know. Obviously, the starting quarterback is Josh Hoover, and you could look at the start because Josh Hoover is second in the nation in passing yards, right behind Sora Robertson. So 1 versus 2 in the passing yards department. Number 10, 6'2", 200-pound quarterback that is a junior. 139 completions out of 215 attempts for 1,893 yards with 18 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He even had a backwards pass that was a fumble last week that was to return for 6. And same thing goes for an interception as well. So 2 touchdowns by the Kansas State defense. And he's not a scrambling guy. 31 rushing attempts for 9 yards with 2 touchdowns though. So the best running back is Kavorian Barnes, Number 2, 5'9", 210-pound, that's a senior. 49 rushing attempts for 285 yards with 1 touchdown, 8 receptions for 42 yards. There's Jeremy Payne, number 26, 5'10", 180-pound running back. That's a sophomore. 31 rushing attempts for 132 yards with 2 touchdowns, 13 receptions for 81 yards with 1 touchdown. There's Trent Battle, I forgot to mention before, Jeremy Payne. Number 6, 6'1", 200-pound running back. That's a senior. 29 rushing attempts for 159 yards with 3 touchdowns. That's probably the top 3 they got right there. I'm going to just go ahead and mention Nate Palmer just in case he does play. Number 15, 6 foot, 109-pound running back. That's a freshman. 18 rushing attempts for 93 yards and 1 reception for 1 yard. Now, obviously, the best wide receiver is Eric McAllister. Number 88, 6'3", 205-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 21 receptions for 541 yards with 7 touchdowns. There's Julian Dwyer. Number 7, 6 foot, 195-pound wide receiver. That's a junior. 25 receptions for 357 yards with 2 touchdowns. There's Joseph Manichek, like I said. I don't know if he's going to play or not. I don't know. Number 14, 6'3", 205-pound wide receiver. That's a senior as well. 21 receptions for 309 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 rushing attempt for 6 yards. And actually a passing attempt that was completed for 17 yards. There's DJ Rogers, which he went off last game when you look at the numbers. Number 80, 6'4", 250-pound tight end. That's a senior. 16 receptions for 169 yards with 1 touchdown. Actually, that's not him, but still a key tight end person. And the other guy that really went off last game for sure is Ed Small. Number 18, 6 foot, 205-pound wide receiver. That's a freshman. 16 receptions for 186 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 rushing attempt for negative 13 yards. Might as well go over Chase Curtis. Number 81, 6'5", 240-pound tight end. That's a senior. 9 receptions for 117 yards with 2 touchdowns. And you can check the rest out in the description below. They might play some other guys that have like 28 receiving yards or less as a wide receiver or a tight end, honestly. So I'm just saying. Now, defensively, they run a 4-2-5, 24.7 points per game aim allowed, 121 first downs all year, 132.2 rushing yards per game, and 240.7 passing yards per game. So that's a key number to watch right there. And 38 for 86 on 3rd down, 7 for 9 on 4th down, 16 sacks, 38 tackles for loss, 6 interceptions, which they had a lot against Colorado when you look back at that game, and 4 fumbles, 18 pass breakups, 12 quarterback hurries, time of possession 32 minutes 51 seconds. Now 3 deep on the defensive line is like 281.25 pounds, and you could go in particular nose tackle, defensive tackle, and defensive end for the 3 deep if you really want to. So there's Jamel Johnson, number 2, 6'1", 200-pound safety. That's a junior. 48 tackles, 34 solo, 1.5 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 1 pass breakup, and 1 fumble recovery. There's Caleb Alarms Orr, number 3, 6'2", 230-pound linebacker. That's a senior. 48 tackles, 29 solo, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hurries, and 1 pass breakup. There's Bud Clark, number 21, 6'2", 109-pound safety. That's a senior. Yeah, he was part of that team that went to the national title game. He is. 29 tackles, 18 of those solo, 2 interceptions, 1 quarterback hurry, and 5 pass breakups. There's Devin Beal, number 11, 6'4", 250-pound linebacker. That's a senior. 23 tackles, 13 solo, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hurries, 1 pass breakup, forced 1 fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. There's Austin Jordan, number 1, 6', 195-pound safety. That's a senior. 18 tackles, 15 solo, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hurries, and 1 pass breakup. There's Kylan Jackson, number 19, 6'3", 200-pound safety. That's a sophomore. 15 tackles, 10 solo, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and 1 quarterback hurry. There's Max Carroll, number 33, 6'3", 225-pound linebacker. That's a sophomore, 15 tackles, 8 solo, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass breakup, and forced 1 fumble. There's Channing Canada, number 7, 6 foot, 109-pound cornerback. That's in CB. That's a senior. 15 tackles, 11 solo, and 1 pass breakup. There's Paul Oyale, Oyewale. Apologize if I butchered that. Number 97, 6'4", 270-pound defensive end. That's a junior. 15 tackles, 10 solo, 4.5 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. There's Vernon Glover, number 26, 6'1", 109-pound CB. That's a sophomore. 13 tackles, 10 solo, 1 tackle for loss, and 2 pass breakups. There's Javon McIver Jr., number 20, 6'1", 185-pound CB. That is a senior. 12 tackles, 9 solo, 1 tackle for loss, and 2 pass breakups. There's Ansel Den Mubu, MBUH. I apologize if I butchered that. Number 92, 6'3", 305-pound defensive tackle. That is a junior. 10 tackles, 5 solo, 3.5 tackles for loss, and 1.5 sacks. There's Marcus Deal, number 95, 6'5", 325-pound defensive lineman. That's a sophomore. 9 tackles, 4 solo, 0.5 tackles for loss, and 0.5 sacks. There's Jonathan Bax, number 18, 6'3", 245-pound linebacker. That is a junior. 9 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup, and forced 1 fumble. Tristan Johnson, number 35, 6'3", 209-pound defensive lineman as a freshman. 9 tackles, 2 of those solo, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, 1 quarterback hurry, forced 1 fumble. There's Zachary Chapman, number 0, 6'5", 260-pound defensive end. That is a sophomore. 8 tackles, half of those solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hurry, 1 fumble recovery. Okay, I'm probably going to just go over like more defensive tackles here and defensive linemen in general, like Perry Cole Jr., number 34, 6'3", 320-pound defensive tackle. That's a sophomore. 6 tackles, only 1 of those solo. And then there's Connor Lindgren, number 99, 6'5", 305-pound defensive tackle. That is a junior. 4 tackles, 3/4 of those are solo. That's probably all the guys you really need to know on defense. Yes, I might have skipped some guys, but you could check out in the description below. Well, I will say the starting punter is Ethan Crawl, number 31, 6'3", 205-pound punter. That is his senior. 18 punts for 733 yards. And his Nate McCashland, who's their more used kicker due to injury to the other one. Number 99, 5'10", 170-pound kicker. That's a sophomore. 23 for 23 on extra points. 1 for 3 on field goals, which was like a 27-yarder, albeit, I know, but still. Obviously, whatever you did right last game, you got to bring it this game. Whatever you did wrong last game, you got to correct. And you got to try to take all the momentum from the Kansas State game and bring it to this one. You got to start faster in this type of game and try to take the crowd out of the game for TCU as much as possible, which I know Baylor fans will show up for the game, but still. You got to make adjustments on the fly, not just on offense, just on defense or special teams. It's everything. And not just from first quarter, not from first half to second half, but during those quarters, first and second quarters. In general, I know. You got to limit your penalties as much as possible. And you don't want to lose your cool and temper and get like a personal unsportsmanlike conduct or a sideline warning in all this. Now, special teams wise, you got to be solid on special teams. No special teams blunders. Don't allow any big returns. But obviously, if you do get some, that would be helpful. Obviously, but still, you don't want to have like a blocked extra point, a blocked field goal, a bad snap. You get it, and a block punt or a block, anything. Yeah, you gotta make your field goals count because that sometimes could be the difference between a win and a loss. I mean, look at the last 2 out of 3 meetings between Baylor and TCU. It's been a field goal difference. I mean, just telling the truth. And I would expect TCU to play a little ticked off after that loss. I would. So you got to be ready for that, obviously. And they want to play better because they lost to a team that they shouldn't. And I think that, quite frankly, they took them for granted. I really do. Because Kansas State at the time was 2-4. Yeah, I think they're a little bit better, clearly, after beating TCU. But if they would have lost, they would have been 2-5. But still. Anyway, back to the game itself. You got to create some. Now, on defense, it's going to be interesting. I would try to limit the big plays for them in the air as much as possible and make them beat you through the ground. But I'm not saying allow so many rushing yards either. I'm just saying force them to run and run the ball. And this is a type of game that if you could create some turnovers, that would really be helpful. And all this, you got to shut down the best players. I mean, receiving wise, as much as possible. And you do need to bring some pressure, but I don't want to bring like a ton because then if you put your guys on islands in man-to-man coverage or zone, you don't want to give him easy throws because he will pick you apart. He did that against Kansas State and still lost. There's a reason why, obviously. I mean, and I'm not saying give him like dink and dunks wide open all day. Try to make everything contested. And obviously getting some sacks and getting some pressures and get them, that would really help a lot in this type of game. Now, offensively, you got to take care of the ball. If you could get a run game going offensively, that would really help your defense and make sometimes your best offense. I mean, sometimes your best defense is your offense. And keep the TCU offense off the field at times. I mean, that's the thing. That would really help. And obviously, you got to make contested catches. The offensive line needs to step up. Not just in terms of run blocking, but pass blocking. The same thing goes for tight ends as well. And honestly, the run blocking is more like for wide receivers too. Just being honest. And the same thing goes for those quick screens. You got to make contested catches. Don't have a lot of drops in this type of game. You got to take what the defense gives you and not try to force anything. And if Colorado had a better quarterback, or Kane Salter played like he did for Colorado in the Iowa State game, I think Colorado would have went into Fort Worth and beat them. I really do. Because they really could have had a lead at halftime. But they didn't. But you get the whole point. You can't take plays off both offensively and defensively. And same thing goes for special teams as well. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. And I do expect this to be a high-scoring game. I do, and nothing would shock me in this game. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later. On the road to 800 subscribers, close ultimate goal. It's now some more money to this course like video. Comment video really helps YouTube algorithm. So more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well. So more people can watch. And if you're watching and not subscribe, hit subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well. And obviously, if you get like a block, if you get a block punt, you get blocked. If you get a block punt, that would be helpful. And same thing goes for field goals, because look at what happened in that Kansas State game, because you blocked the field goal at the very end of the game. That was the difference. One of the biggest differences in the ball game right there. Without committing a penalty, of course. And obviously, if TCU commits penalties, it's really on them. And try to win the turnover battle if you can, or stay even. And you got to play complementary football as well. So we have to wait and see what happens, like I said.